Welcome to a Saturday of real life conversations on the porch. It is Saturday afternoon as I'm coming to you live, and the little grandbaby's asleep in the house. And so I had a few minutes to be able to hop in. I'm trying to do this every couple of weeks. And just to share some thoughts, I also send these out by email. They're on YouTube, they're on my podcast. So you can pick up the content in several different places and ways. But today I want to talk about something for just a few minutes. The idea that let's talk about boredom. Boredom is not the absence of something good, it's actually the beginning of it. And I want to share with you a little story and ask you a few questions to ponder as we hang out together here for a few minutes. I want to ask you something right off the bat, and I want you to sit with it for a bit before you answer because I think the honest answer might surprise you. When was the last time you allowed yourself to be bored? And boredom is not scrolling through your phone with nothing catching your eye or flipping through YouTube, TV, library, all the things that we record and do and just landing on nothing. I mean, genuinely uncomfortable, nothing in your hands, bored. Just you and the quiet and that slightly uncomfortable feeling of now what? The dictionary defines boredom as the state of being weary and restless through lack of interest. Weary and restless is where I think a lot of us are exactly living right now. And we don't even maybe recognize it. The moment that feeling surfaces of, I'm bored, we do everything to wipe it out and make it disappear. We grab our phones, our iPads, turn on the TV, anything to fill that quiet back up. And a couple of weekends ago, actually, now I had a chance to remember that boredom is not the absence of something good. It's the beginning of it. It's a pathway to it. A few weeks ago, Dale and I went camping in our new camper, and it took us on kind of our first maiden voyage that weekend. And I've been calling the camper my haven on wheels because it's exactly what I felt like the moment we pulled into the campgrounds. Out in nature, slowing down, stepping out of the noise of everyday life. I think you know what I mean. It just felt like I could exhale for the first time in a very long time. And somewhere though, after a few hours, we got all set up and everything. Then I sat down around the campfire in middle of the afternoon and boredom started to knock on the door. And my first instinct was to answer it in the wrong way because the campgrounds now, it's really not camping, it's more glamping, have Wi-Fi. We had a television in our fifth wheel. My phone was right there on the table beside me at the campground. My iPad was already playing music on the picnic table. And I caught myself more than once reaching for all those things just to fill up the quiet. And I kept coming back to making a different choice. I actually stayed in the quiet. I sat by the campfire. I let it be quiet. And then something started to come back to life for me after, you know, a few hours and even into the next day. Something I haven't felt in a long time. Creativity. Something settled. Something that felt a whole lot like the person that God originally designed me to be. And here's what I started to remember from childhood that I knew I'd forgotten. I remember many times, and maybe you did the same, walking in and telling my mom I was bored. And she would say, without looking up, go outside and play. I don't want to hear from you for an hour or two. No activities suggested, nothing to do. We didn't have devices, so there was none of that. We barely maybe had 2 channels on a TV, but we weren't really allowed to just go in and plop down in front of the TV. It was go outside and figure it out, or go to your room and figure it out. And every single time, I figured it out. I built forts out of straw bales. I wandered around in the woods. I went for bike rides. I climbed trees. I played in the sand pile. And by fourth grade, third or fourth grade, I was going outside, wandering in the woods, and writing music. Not because anyone told me to, but because boredom created a space and something rose up to fill it. That's where my creative brain was actually born. It was born in that empty space that my mother and my father refused to fill for me. Of course, my mom didn't know the neuroscience behind what she was doing when she sent me outside, but God actually did and does today. He designed us that way. Science actually says these things. Neuroscience scientists have identified that something in the brain called the default mode network. It's a system of region in the brain that becomes highly active when you're still and your mind's allowed to just wander. The network is responsible directly for creativity, imagination, problem solving, and even self-reflection, no matter what your age. Your brain was designed to do its most important work in the quiet. That's why sleep and rest and boredom are so important. When we fill every quiet minute with noise and stimulation, we are bypassing this entire system in our brain. But here's the hope. You may have been bypassing it for a long time, but the brain has the ability to form new neural pathways and rewire itself throughout our entire lives. No matter what our age, we don't have to be children, but we can take on a childlike self. We've not missed the window. God wired creativity and imagination, deep reflection, thinking, all these things into the architect of the human brain. And he designed it to be active even in stillness and rest. The scripture says, "Be still and know that I am God." It's not just a verse there to comfort us. It's designed specifically for this idea. So what we get paid back is this. We know something is missing. We feel it. So we built an entire industry trying to get it back. There are meditation apps, there are mindfulness programs, there are digital detoxes, wellness retreats. Even in our faith communities, we constantly can start to talk about things like silence and solitude as we're doing spiritual formation or learning how to walk closer with God. And these things aren't wrong at all. But it's sad that we have to schedule and pay for something that used to be a regular Saturday afternoon. What I think we're longing for is simply the space to let our minds be free, to do something mindless with our hands, like dig in the dirt or pull weeds or take a walk with nothing in your ears. I can't believe how many people I see with some type of device in their ear all the time. But whenever you allow your brain to stop performing and just breathe or sit or watch the beautiful clouds today go by, it's not wasted time, even though we can tell ourselves it is. This is where the best of what God placed in your heart comes together. The path back, it's not complicated. It's not expensive. Your brain will rewire to be able to sit in boredom. It just requires the willingness to be bored and stay there long enough to find out what might happen next. What creative thing might come? So here's my challenge to you. Stop solving your boredom so fast. The next time that you're weary or restless or that feeling shows up like it did for me when I was camping, before you reach for your phone, turn on the TV, before you hand your child or your childlike self a device, just wait and sit in it long enough to feel uncomfortable. You'll be fine. Sit on your porch. Let it be quiet. You were not made for endless stimulation. You were made to be still, to create, to imagine, to dream, and to hear from God in the quiet spaces. Just remembering those childhood experiences brought back so much joy for me, even though I didn't always love what my mom told me. So, as we enter into summer, it's a beautiful summer day here on the porch, the very end of May. As you enter summer, let's give yourself permission for some boredom and stay there long enough to find out what God's put inside of you that you've been waiting for, and the quiet, and it'll finally show up. And one more thing before you go. A few weeks ago, I sent out by email an invitation to fill out a short survey. And whether you're listening to this on YouTube or on the podcast audio channel, or you've read the email or whatever, I would love if you would take the chance to fill out that short survey. It will either be in the show notes, or I'll put it here below this Facebook Live, or wherever you might find it. We are gathering information to find out how you like content, how you like to hear from me or from us at the Real Life Process. And then after you fill that out, you'll be invited to a call just to hang out together. Nothing that we're pitching or selling or anything like that. Just an open conversation about what your summer looks like. It'll only take a few minutes for the feedback, and it will really help us know what to create this summer and what you like to engage with and how often. So I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out with me for just a few minutes here on the porch. I really appreciate it and look forward to hearing from you and knowing that you're being bored just like I am. And remember, friends, that every ordinary day has an extraordinary moment in it. You just have to look for it. So we'll be back in a few weeks with more real life conversations from the porch.